Have I ever told you about the crazy adventure me and your grandma had back in 2018? So many lessons learned.
Do not, Jiri. Do not. Let's go world.
In this episode, we will try to summarize, package our experience of last year's volunteering into 12 main lessons that this adventure taught us. Some we expected and many we didn't. And obviously, there is so much more than 12, but let's be a little practical here.
So let's kick this off with point number 1. Family and friends mean a lot. On our travels, we had a lot of time to reflect on how important each and every person is in our life, and that the distance truly meant nothing, and that our connections are still strong. And honestly, today's technology really eased a lot of my pain, or missing whoever it was I was missing, just being able to contact them and being a part of their lives daily through Instagram or Facebook or whatever. It was so nice, compared to
Just still, it felt like you were still in touch with them.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to call them every day or be in touch with them every day. But whenever I was having that crucial point of missing someone, I was able to get in contact with them and they would respond, and it was fine. Yeah.
The technology definitely makes it easier.
A lot easier. What about you? I know you don't really miss people that much.
No, it's not that. It's just because I left home when I was 19. And, back at that time, I definitely was very homesick. And the technology wasn't that available at the
Advanced,
time or
yeah.
advanced. There was no WhatsApp or anything. I had my cell phone and, my mom could call me sometimes. But, I definitely miss people. And I have a small family, so it's different. But I just had to get used to that, just seeing them maybe once a year or whatever. So it wasn't that hard for me, but especially having you there, having each other.
Yeah.
That was the main point. I think if I was on my own, it would be very different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so different from comparing our time, my time when I was volunteering in India in 2012. The technology was so different. There was an internet cafe, and I was writing letters,
Yeah.
and it would take a month to get there. And I feel like if it was like that, how it was then, now, I would feel totally different. I would be homesick. I don't think I ever really got homesick the whole time we were away. And I don't know if it was because we were just in this little bubble together, and we coped okay because of the technology, or
It
what.
made it easier, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So point number 2, not all animals are what you think or are like what you think. What this means is that, you go into this maybe thinking some animals have certain qualities or are gonna behave in a certain way. Well, you're in for a surprise because, for example, with the elephants, you think they must be really loud walking about and, just like these gentle giants and all this, but you just learn they can be very vicious, very temperamental. Actually, when they walk about, it's actually very hard to hear them. And you just learn so much about the animals. Like pigs, that was a big surprise for me. They were so gentle and very much like dogs in a way, right?
Yeah, when food's not involved. They're very sweet. They're very curious. You would go into clean their pens, and they're just coming up to you for affection and attention. And they want a belly rub. They want to see what's going on. They're very inquisitive. They're just very sweet.
The point is, if you're not watching nature documentaries every day, you might have some skewed kind of ideas about some of these
Like us.
some of these animals, and it's completely all right. It's a surprise. Did you know, for example, that hippos in nature kill the most amount of people a year? They are just crazy predators, and you just don't
They're
think
very
about that.
territorial.
Yeah, you don't think about that. So yeah, if you see a hippo in a river, well, it's probably too late anyway. So good luck.
Number 3 is that physical work is very rewarding. Not that we like ever wanted to do it, but we did. Like we always felt really achieved at the end of the day, and we were challenged a lot. What else?
Yeah, you just felt so great after, being so physically involved, like exercising your whole body all the time.
Yeah, you were so excited to eat the meal. Like it felt so
Oh,
rewarding.
yes.
He was so happy to eat like every meal. He was like, "Oh, I'm so grateful for this food. Like I've been so worked out."
Yeah, initially you're dying. Yeah, it's like the hardest thing you can imagine. You think, like, seriously, at points you think I'm gonna just like
Well,
pass out.
yeah, well, compared to the jobs that we used to do back home, so I was a stock
Yeah.
controller. I was walking around with like a PDA, hardly lifting anything heavy. Obviously, there was some stock and stuff that needed moved. Yeah, like standard stuff. But obviously, and you were working behind a
Yeah, yeah.
computer, so yeah. Not that we're unfit or anything, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
from that to
It
like
shows you.
harvesting banana trees and carrying so much fruit and vegetables and like really heavy crates, like
It also shows you how adaptable you are physically.
that's true.
That's actually quite scary. In a week, 2 weeks time, you just felt like a Terminator. It was, it was amazing. So, point number 4, it's not really about you. So what this is about is especially the wild animals and the first 2 sanctuaries we've been to. The animals you care for are not really directly caring, as if you know what I mean. You don't see their direct appreciation as you would see like a dog losing his shit for taking him for a walk or her,
Yeah.
whatever. So it's just basically, it's quite a big realization because you need to understand why you're doing this, because you're not getting that feedback. So you need to realize that, okay, I'm doing this for nature. I'm a part of a big circle or cycle of, good doers or whatever. And you don't see the end result. You don't see the animals being released back in nature, which would be obviously really
Yeah.
rewarding. But you need to understand where you are in a bigger picture, and that needs to give you that feeling. So it's just like a lot about perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think about that?
Yeah, at the beginning it was really disheartening, like all the animals trying to scratch off your face and really trying to attack you and not giving a shit about you. But when you realize that that animal then has the best chance for rehabilitation or reintegration back into the wild, it makes it a lot easier. And as well, it's like it really is a good thing that they're not getting used to the human interaction, because then they'll never want to be around humans. They want to be around their own kind, and
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, that's very good.
Number 5, traveling as vegans was easy. So easy, but we are prepared vegans, so we always write to places and placements and book like vegan meals on flights. So we did all that, and then around all that, I love finding vegan finds in stores. So it doesn't matter wherever we are. I'm always looking around, picking up things and checking if it's vegan. Like
You should see her entering a store, yeah. She's gone, like, somewhere in the aisles, like, finding things straight away. My mom is so amused by this when we go
yeah,
shopping, yeah.
and it's like we just go in for like spinach and some sort of vegetables or something, and I'm walking around all the biscuits, like having a look. Like we don't need any of this stuff. Like I just like finding things that are vegan, and I'm like, oh look, and I'll end up finding patties. And him and his mom are like, where do you find this? Like how do you know where to look for it? I'm like, oh, it just like looks vegan.
Like, she
or
doesn't speak any other language, and she's just always finding things
I
out,
always find stuff.
communicating with people, in any way.
Yeah.
You get stuff done.
So yeah, we were fine in all the countries we went to. Like obviously every country you go to, you can get whole foods. You've got your fruit, you've got your rice, you've got your vegetables, everything like that. But I'm talking about like ice creams and like some of the junk food that people think, oh, I could never be vegan because I won't be able to have that. Like that's a lie. You can get it anywhere and everywhere. You just need to look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were totally fine. There was just maybe during the airport, again, we're always prepared. We book a vegan meal, but then we take a pack lunch, because while we were traveling in Thailand, we actually met a few vegans that were vegan, but they weren't vegan at the placement because they felt like there wasn't enough options for them, which really shocked me, because you got two really good meals a day. They were like rice, vegetables, tofu. It was like packed with, fruit as well. And for breakfast, there was vegan options too. It was like a bit more limited compared to the other meals, but there was still oatmeal, there was fruit. We bought peanut butter, and it just really baffled my mind that they were so quick to go back to not being vegan,
Mm-hmm.
just because. And these people were only there for a week or two, and they
Yeah.
couldn't hack it. They were like, oh, I need to be vegetarian, and when I go back home I'll be vegan again. And we were loving the food. Like, we thought it was a lot. The local supermarket had plant milks, it had biscuits, it had chocolate, it had crisps. Like, you could still get all those things for it really surprises me, people that break so easily. But then it made me think, oh, maybe these people were from Germany, and they were just raised with so many alternatives and options like at their disposal.
Mm.
When we first went
And
vegan,
also, it was much younger people than us. Yeah. So again, they
yeah,
might not have seen the difference from back then to now. There's so many
yeah,
options.
because when we first went vegan, there was only like one meat alternative and a couple of things. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that really surprised me. But yeah, we found it super easy.
Point number 6: animals can teach you about your own nature. This was a big one for me, and I remember thinking like almost every second day at some situation about this point. And what it is, many times in my own hubris, I would think about some of the animals that were stupid for doing something. Like, oh my god, look at the dogs barking at nothing or overreacting, or look at the goat being so like horny and like annoying people, or annoying the other animals
He
around.
would, yeah.
But it showed you like straight away when I thought that I had a reflection on a human nature, and especially seeing the monkeys, so it would just make me think, oh yeah, but we do the same things. Really, it might not be exactly the same thing, like you're not barking at the wall, but it's about they still have the same emotions, they have the same fears and wants. They want to get food and a mate and all these things, and behave in stupid ways sometimes, as well as people. And it was really funny realizing that in on many occasions, seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah, like you pointed out about like Goaty, for example, for a
Yeah.
couple months he started harassing the dogs because he was super horny, and he just wouldn't get it. And I would get so frustrated with him because the dog started to physically attack him because he wouldn't get the message in his head that they're not interested. And I'd be so frustrated every day, and then you would show me an example of, like, if we were arguing, or just people that get themselves in a situation and they keep doing the same thing and same thing and same thing, but they want a different result. Yuri was like, well, if you keep doing the same thing, why do you expect a different result? And it's like
Yeah, but yeah, people do the same
crazy.
thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just made you realize that we are all just conditioned habitually so much.
Yeah.
It was hilarious, yeah. So big lesson there.
Number 7, you don't need as much stuff as what you think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we lived out of our 60-liter backpacks each, and we were totally fine. We maybe bought like 2 clothes items on our travels, and that was about it. Um, and it really, like, we started changing our perspective on things like a couple of years ago
Mm-hmm.
before we went traveling. But for example, when I went to India traveling for 5 months, I took a bag about 3 times the size of the one that I went traveling with for 9 months. And my dad kept telling me, Laurie, you don't need all this stuff. You're not going to use it. And I was like, no, Dad, no, I need it. And whatever. So obviously he knew I wasn't going to listen. And I took my stuff. And yeah, I used maybe a quarter of that bag. It was ridiculous. So this time round, I was like, I know what I'm doing. And me and Jiri has been discussing minimalism for a few years now, and it just helped really clear our houses out and our minds out, and just really questioning everything that we purchase now. Like, obviously when you see something and you want it, it's like, oh yeah, that's really nice, I would like it. But then you ask other questions like, okay, do I need this? Will it benefit us? Is it worth it? And I'm a great believer now, like, investing a lot of money into something so it lasts a long time. And it's more about the quality of something rather than the quantity of things.
So yeah, like getting less stuff, maybe even more expensive, but just less. And this way everyone's better off. The environment, your
Exactly.
mind, everything is better.
Yeah.
And it's initially quite scary to think that.
It is. I
Yeah.
remember like when Yuri told me, oh, I watched this documentary on minimalism and this and that, and I freaked out. I was like, so you don't want to have things anymore? We're not going to have a nice house. I don't know what I thought. I just thought it meant not investing money into things. I think that's what the worry was. Like, that consumerism in me would totally freak the fuck out. I was like, what is happening?
And now she wants to live in a tiny house, so yeah.
Yeah, like I want to like downsize, but I want everything to still be nice and good quality
Yeah,
and good for the environment.
yeah, true that. Point number 8, the power of community is undeniable. Yeah, so again, this was a big challenge for me, as I already mentioned on the podcast. I'm the type of person who gets quite, what do you call it, drained in social situations. Every all these things going on, just like I'm too observant of people's behaviors and everything, and just really makes me tired. So I was quite worried this would be the case there. But the thing is, when you're in a place where people are many people going to volunteer are actually in a process of maybe questioning their lifestyles, or kind of like searching for
Yes,
meaning in life.
searching for something.
And it makes it much easier to have the big talk instead of just the small talk. The thing is, I'm not very good with small talk. So if I'm somewhere and I meet someone new, I would just start asking these, like bigger questions, because I want to cut the bullshit and just like have the connection with people. But people freak out, and it's just too much social play, which I don't care about.
Yeah.
But that was much easier, with the volunteers.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would be really worthwhile. Like you make connections with people on such deeper level so much quicker, right?
Yeah, so quick. Like, think about it. We would meet people for maybe 2 weeks and then we would arrange to go away on a weekend with them,
Yeah.
like living together, going places and everything like that. I don't think we've done anything like that back home. Like, we met Chris actually at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
party
that's
and we
true.
went but like before that, we never really. I couldn't think of just meeting someone and then arranging to go away. And I think like when you go away traveling, you're just put into like a completely different zone. And it makes you make faster connections and, like you said, cut all the bull crap. Like,
Yeah.
you're not interested in the pleasantries. Like, fuck this. Like, why are you here and what are you doing? Oh, cool.
You're learning from one another.
I'm doing a similar thing. Oh, you're fun. Let's
What
go
are
do
your
stuff.
views on this, on that? And
Yeah.
it's a constant there.
Yeah.
And for my type of personality, that's like really good. What about you though?
Yeah.
How did you find that initially?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if any of you know this, but if I'm actually quite a closed off person, it's quite hard to be like a really close friend of mine. Like, I don't like to share that much about myself, even though Yuri makes me do it all the time. Yeah, so at work especially, I'm obviously like really nice and friendly and civil, but I'm not like Yuri's the opposite. He's very deep and open, and I'm quite like closed off and weird, and yeah.
Yeah, but you can be very deep and nice.
I can,
in
but
a
you
while.
have to
It
get
takes a
past.
time.
You have to get past a certain point.
Yeah.
It's like you need to gain my trust and stuff like that. So yeah, obviously traveling and being around all these people, like it was very challenging for me. I felt a lot of time like resistance, like I felt in my body. Yuri would be like blah, 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 and I would like feel uncomfortable, and it was just cool noticing. Oh, this makes me feel uncomfortable and it's weird. And it just made me challenge that on a daily basis. I'd be writing to my best friends back home being like, this is really hard. Like, why can't you guys just be here? Why can't I just be around people I'm comfortable with? Like, I don't want to have to keep opening myself up and have to keep sharing things. And yeah, so even to midway, like traveling, it was very difficult. And then like the last placement, it just, everything was so easy.
That's funny you say that, because when when you said I was like a chatterbox, I actually thought the same thing. Sometimes I would be uncomfortable, or you
Oh,
would be,
really?
yeah, you, because I think what you did, you actually put yourself out there and try to do this.
Yeah,
It
it
was,
was
I
so.
was like, wow, she's such a social butterfly, like just like chatting everyone up, and it was really funny that you had like similar view but from the other side. We were obviously both, I remember a point actually when we arrived to Thailand to do this, of like, we were both questioning what the hell are we doing, but then we still wanted to keep this face for one another of like, we've got this together,
Oh, yeah.
but we were kind of freaking out both in our own ways,
Yeah.
but we were trying to just do this like little bit of a pretend for the other one not to like, freak out too much.
Yeah.
And I think we both felt it, and we just kind of knew like we are now in this, we need to learn to swim, so let's
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it.
We were literally thrown in the deep
Yeah.
end, and yeah, we wanted to make the best of it.
But yeah, basically, community is great. Socialize more, talk deep, and have fun, guys.
Number 9, we are of nature. On our travels, we were based in nature during all of the time, and we got to notice how out of touch of nature we actually are, back in our normal lives in Scotland. And it was really eye opening. Obviously, in the beginning, when you've got cockroaches, like I'm not talking like minging conditions where there's cockroaches everywhere. I'm talking the cockroaches come out in the evening and you see a few. And obviously, I don't like any insects at all. So, that was challenging for me. But at the end of the day, we came to like coexist with them. I understood that there was no way of me getting rid of them. Like they were always going to find their way in. And yeah, and like, when you just realize like those bugs or those things don't, it's not their agenda, like, oh, there's a human, yeah,
We're gonna
that
invade their
that's
space.
my target, they're dead tonight. It's like, no, they're scared shitless. They are just like living in their home that you built your home on. And it's like this whole circle of life thing. And yeah, I don't know, we like dealt with it really well. Like by the end of it, they didn't scare me at all. I obviously don't want to touch any of them still. I never even removed any of them. Two fell on my face. That was awful. But
But the thing is, even basically living in such conditions just brings out the animal out of you. You're more dirty, you're more kind of, just hands on with everything, right?
yeah.
You're not that sanitized anymore. And even, animals you might think like cats and dogs, they're just dirty.
Yeah.
And, you want to play with them and stuff. Yeah, you're going to get, it's just different.
Yeah.
And it just challenges you to be to think, to realize that, yeah, I am of nature and also they are. And we
What's
are all sharing this together.
Yeah, what's crazy is like when you get there, or if you're not a bug person like me and you go away traveling and then you're like, you feel like you're being invaded by all these bugs, it's like makes you feel uncomfortable. You're challenged daily, like, oh, okay, this again, this again, this again. And then we came back to Germany in a concrete flat, and there's no bugs, there's not a fly, and it just feels dead. Like it feels like you're out of touch with nature. I was having dreams for like 5 weeks that I hadn't been wrapping up the food properly and cockroaches were going to get into it. And it was just like opposite ends of the scale. Like we're so protected, we're so out of touch with nature. It's crazy. And then when we're in nature, we don't know how to deal with it because
We get all awkward and stuff.
yeah, like, oh, this thing's in my space. No, we built our home on their home and we should be coexisting. Like,
Yeah. Also, things like technology, like less internet, less social media, and just being in nature ultimately feels really good.
yeah.
And I believe we need to get some sort of balance, with the modern world and all that.
And how do you think we're going to do that?
I don't know. Like, we can make the architecture and the technology be more in line with nature.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, so, we'll see. It's
you
not like
try-
we are changing it like right now. Yeah, let's offer these like blocks of flats some sort of
You're hoping
upgrade.
some like wizard's gonna listen to this
Yeah,
and
Jason. Yeah. So that kind of comes into play in the point number 10. The power of awe is very healing. So, Jason Silva, shout out to you. Obviously, you're never gonna hear this, but yeah, if anyone knows the shots of awe and Jason Silva, search him. Or
he's
if you
a,
don't know about it, search for him. He's
he's
really
amazing.
amazing. Yeah, and he talks a lot about this. About human nature and the architect, the outside and the inside. Like, yeah, yeah. If he's very deep. So the power of awe, basically, seeing all these amazing natural things, it being creatures of any kind or some beautiful nature sites, it just instills this feeling within you of this awe, and it's very healing. It's amazing to feel like that so much more than on daily basis. And it's unfortunate, obviously, because of the whole hedonic adaptation. If we just kept doing that, we would get used to it and not see it all the time. So Jason talks about that too. Like, how do you keep having that sense of awe even about ordinary things you experience every day? Well, that's the thing, right? So there's obviously many things you can do, but I think just seeing and feeling like this makes you realize that you would like to be in that state more in everyday life. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you just feel like a child again.
And it makes you think as well, like you don't have to travel halfway around the world to experience that.
Yeah,
You can book a weekend away. You can just go away on a drive and go see something that you've not seen before, and it's going to instill that feeling as well.
yeah. So strive for it.
Number 11, letting go of comfort and control is not easy, but it's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, as we've said a million times, like how uncomfortable we felt. We were thrown into different positions. Like when we got in Thailand, we were made team leaders. We had no fucking idea what we were doing, and we were leading teams. You know, they didn't know our people skills. They knew nothing. Like we had to
You
interact.
just learn as you go. Yeah.
Yeah, like we said, we were totally thrown in the deep end. It was like completely different from what you would do in a actual job back home. If someone wanted you to start being a team leader, they would approach you about it and talk to you and be like, we were thinking you'd be good at this and we could train you. And it's like everything back home is gradual. Everything's like we're just wrapped in cotton wool like babies. We're completely protected and comforted and stuff like that. And it was like, I think it's really good, like just totally getting out of that. So yeah, we were thrown in the deep end.
It shows you how much you can adapt physically and mentally if you're pushed to do it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize how much that can be. And
And we were happy as well. Like
yeah,
not always,
yeah.
but like when we arrived in South Africa, our toilet was disgusting. Like I remember first seeing it and I was thinking, oh my fucking God. And then by the end of it, I was really content and just happy, like with the way we were living. Everything was fine. Like I could easily live there for years.
Mm-hmm.
And to think what I thought the first day and like how easily that changed is like mental, isn't it?
But also, like, letting of that comfort and control makes you see things from different angles and stuff. And without that, you would just live in your own bias and maybe
Yeah.
never look into it from another point of view.
And realizing like how lucky we are as well. Like the majority of our time away, we were sharing like a single bed together.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and just being able to experience a double bed again and having like like a comfy bed, it's like so nice. Like it's things that people don't think about daily. Like people just take everything for granted, and it's like some people don't have food and or a comfortable or a safe space.
Yeah, our safe space maybe sometimes is not that good for us under certain circumstances, obviously. And it all this leads us to the point number 12, which is overall life perspective gets updated. And yeah, it's just everything we said prior to this just makes you reflect on life and what you're doing on a regular basis.
I think every day we said to each other, what are we doing?
Yeah, like you're so thrown out of your comfort. You're like questioning everything, your past, your future, your
Your present.
you're just questioning everything at that time, and it's really good because until you get to that position, you might not maybe be even able to pinpoint some of these areas you need to focus on or do you want to change, like you said with some mental problems and stuff.
Yeah. Or I was saying to Jiri before we started recording that a lot of people might think, oh, Laurie and Jiri, they're having the most amazing time. Like, they're so lucky. Like, they're having the experience of a lifetime. Like, yeah, that was all true. But we were just two people. We made a plan. Like, Jiri was like, oh, I'd like to volunteer. We made a plan and we made actions to follow that, make that plan happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then we weren't happy every single day.
Yeah.
Like we still had, uncomfortableness, like insecurities, like we were like, falling out with each other, and we were like asking ourselves like, what the hell are we doing? Like, why did we leave all of our friends and family to go do this crazy stuff and not feel good every single day? And it just shows you that leaving your environment or changing your environment doesn't change your mood or change or
your habitual patterns.
Yeah, it doesn't make you happy.
But it might reveal what you need to work on.
Yeah.
Right? And that's so important.
Yeah, I think like it's hard to pinpoint when you're surrounded by, a certain environment or people. It's, you're wondering like, why am I unhappy? Like, what's going on? Why am I acting like this? It's hard to pinpoint it. And we left that environment and we're like, oh, we still feel like this, like how is that possible?
Yeah.
And we were able to like dig deep and be like, okay, so maybe it was this, maybe it's that, okay, this is something I'm gonna work on, because the goal is to be happy, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain the happiness, but it's like
what
we're going for.
We took the whole experience in a very reflective way on our lives, to that point and going into the future. And I think that even doing this podcast was a tool that helped us to do that. And yeah, just challenge yourself and hopefully something good will come out of it.
Yeah. And overall, not everyone is in the position to help animals, but everyone is in the position not to harm them. And we definitely feel that in a few years we will be doing something like this again. We're going to save up for it. And in the meantime, though, obviously we don't have the funds to just constantly be traveling the world. But there is other ways that you can, if animals is your passion or the environment, you can do things that is still helping and beneficial. For example, I know that when we have jobs again, we'll be donating money to certain and different sanctuaries around the planet, and we'll be like, obviously we don't contribute to any of their suffering, we only purchase vegan products. We're always open to helping anyone who is interested in veganism or cutting down their animal product intake. So yeah, if anyone needs help or is even interested, you can always message us, and we're always willing to help people.
As well as with you, if you're thinking about volunteering and would like to ask about some details of preparation or whatever, just hit us up and we'll try to help. Okay, so special thanks and shout out goes to our friend Kate Cow that is continuously very supportive and engaging with us on social media about our podcast. We really appreciate it.
You always make me smile, Kate. Thank you. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching Laurie and Jiri Go Wild. We'll be releasing pictures and updates of our travels up there. If you have any questions or suggestions or would just like to say hi, you can personal message us through our Facebook page or by email at ljgowild@gmail.com.
So this is it, guys. Have a lovely day, whatever and whenever you are. Stay inspired, happy and wild. Much love, guys. Bye.
Bye.